So I wanted this trip, particularly for our student athletes, to understand this is where we come from. This is how we existed prior to colonization. These are the things that we did. This is the culture that we loved, that we tend to not understand, we tend to not, remember, because it was taken from us. So being able to cross back across the Atlantic and understand where a lot of our culture comes from, I think gives a unique perspective for a lot of student athletes.
So this trip was actually a couple years kind of in the making. The professor, Alvin Logan, Dr. Alvin Logan, who taught the class over in Ghana, he had approached me and asked if I would be interested in doing something like this a couple years back. And I've known Alvin for a while. He was a former teammate of mine when we were playing here at UW. But to be able to experience that with student athletes and curate this experience with Alvin and share it in, it was something that honestly was like a dream come true. It almost seemed too good to be true. And so that's kind of where the seed was planted. And then thankfully we were able to execute and make it happen.
Well, the opportunity was given to me by some staff member here at UW that have been real close to me and just really helped me out the whole way since I've been here and always kept me updated with opportunities. And I'm somebody who's never left the country before, so my first time leaving the country, I said, why not take this opportunity and go learn something for free of cost for me, and to study my ancestry, learn a little bit, explore, have some fun, and just had a great time, had a great trip.
So I felt deeply, deeply connected to this trip. It felt like home. I mean, as soon as we left the airport, you literally the doors of the airport, and you seen that wind that just come and just that air that just come right away. And now you starting to smell old smell that you haven't smelled for like years before. Like, is it like environment? You just feel like you're home. I don't really know if a better word to explain it, but you just feel like you're home. Head is at peace, heart is at peace.
Some memorable moments. I mean, the entire thing was just memorable, and it's hard to put to words how impactful the experience was. But I think one of my favorite parts was learning about things that I've never been taught before. So we were able to learn about the liberation of Ghana, a handful of leaders who really hyper-focused and intentionally pushed Pan-Africanism across the globe, and being able to go to a lot of different historical sites, monuments, and just learn again about the history, the liberation, colonization, things again that I'd never been exposed to.
There are a lot of experiences that we had, but I think one of my favorite ones and most memorable was Cape Coast, the slave dungeons. I think as emotional as that day was, I think it was really empowering for me as a woman of color, just to see where my ancestors kind of came from and the trials they've had to overcome. And I think just coming back home, I think I took gratitude and a lot of strength, like understanding like where my lineage comes from, and knowing that if my ancestors could go through and get through what they did, I know that I could get through anything today. So I think I just felt a lot more empowered coming back home, and just a lot more grateful for the things that I do have now.
But if I had to pick like my favorite part of the whole trip, it probably would have been going to the Slave River and just seeing like all the culture and history, and just like where our ancestors really walked hundreds, thousands of miles, you feel me, and to take their last bath before getting put on a slave ship, not knowing where they're going. I mean, just to see that and experience it, it touched me.
Being in the river was just something super special, and we all kind of took a moment at the end to like pray over one another and just kind of like bless each other with like good vibes. But yeah, it was super vulnerable experience, and I think it brought us all super close together as a group because it was kind of like midway through the trip.
So what I was most surprised about visiting Ghana was just like the significance in this country's history. Being able to learn so much about how Ghana gained its independence was really surprising to me. Just how every little kind of aspect of their culture had meaning, especially like the monuments, symbols placed throughout like buildings in different parts of Ghana. It's just another place that you can learn about, be yourself in, and just, yeah, I totally recommend going back to Africa learning about your roots, not just going there for like vacation, but definitely learning about the lands there and like why you're there, why you're here, and stuff. It's a great way to kind of like find yourself, which I really took out of it as well.